Victor FERRIS was born to a wealthy family in Naples, Italy in 1835. His brothers, William and Henry, were both younger than him. His father, Alphonse FERRIS, was a well-known nobleman. Victor's mother, LORETTA, was a noblewoman of popular standing. From childhood, Victor had shown a fascination with the world, and a desire to understand its workings. He found the theories of alchemy quite interesting, though as he grew older, he realized more and more how outdated the theories were. The scientific field of refrigeration caught Victor's attention next. Victor's father encouraged his curiosity towards the sciences. He considered it a good topic of conversation in their social circles. When Victor was 10 years old, he befriended a young girl, ELINOR FARIA. ELINOR, or Nora as Victor would refer to her, had been displaced when her family had died in a fire. Hers had also been a wealthy family, and Alphonse FERRIS saw it as good publicity that Victor was her friend. The FERRIS household became like a second home to her. Victor took an immediate liking to the girl, and the two got along quite well. As the years went on, their friendship grew into a relationship. The two were eventually wed in 1853, and Victor attended the University of Ingolstadt in Germany not long after. Nora and Victor FERRIS had moved together to Germany, and Victor pursued his dream of becoming a scientist, specifically the field of gases and refrigeration. The theories he developed have been lost to time, though many speculate that he developed early theses for laser cooling and even used some chlorofluorocarbons as a fuel source, decades ahead of other scientists. Victor was a natural to the field. Though Victor's work has been lost to time, strides were made later by scientists such as Lebedev, Nichols, and Hull from 1901 to 1903. Chlorofluorocarbons were later pioneered in the 1920s as a fire suppressant. Victor's time at the University of Ingolstadt paid off, and he graduated with full honors in 1857. He and Nora decided to move to America to pursue the next step in Victor's career together, and, upon immigrating successfully, Victor found a job at BOYLE Heating and Refrigeration Company. It was located in Gotham City, New Jersey. Ferris Boyle, the owner of the business, was elated to have Dr. FERRIS working for him. Boyle tasked Victor with developing new methods of refrigeration. Victor, ever the one to think outside the box, used numerous methodologies that most people in his field had never even heard of. He even modified and patented a containment suit derived from a scuba suit. This helped him conduct experiments without exposing himself to the elements. Modern speculators theorize that he may have utilized many things: psychrophilic bacteria, bacteria able to survive at sub-zero temperatures, the physical properties of cold-blooded animals, and many others. Whatever the case, and however outlandish the theories, Victor helped Ferris Boyle's company earn a name for itself in Gotham City. Boyle coined the term that they were freezing to life his business. All was going well for Victor and Nora, until the discovery that Nora was sick in 1891. Doctors were uncertain what was ailing her, and therefore unable to provide adequate medical care. Victor, desperate at the prospect of losing the woman he loved, set about using his scientific knowledge to devise a cure. This desperation drove to FERRIS developing technology that was decades ahead of anything else in the scientific community at the time. As Nora's condition worsened, he worked to develop a refrigeration machine to try and slow Nora's condition. Some within the Cryogenic Society of America tentatively refer to Victor FERRIS as the father of the cryogenic field, though that title is tarnished by the rest of Victor's history. He began to neglect his duties to BOYLE Heating and Refrigeration Company, and Ferris Boyle began to notice that Victor was taking advantage of his resources. This led to a terrible confrontation. Accompanied by an enforcer, Ferris Boyle confronted Victor in his laboratory within the company building. With Nora already in the machine that he had developed, Victor panicked upon the confrontation. He became physically defensive, and while wrestling with Boyle's enforcer, fell into his machinery and knocked some tubing loose. He was enveloped in the experimental concoctions within the machinery, and Boyle and his enforcer fled the scene. They left Victor to die in his lab. In spite of all odds, Victor survived. In the chaos, Nora's refrigeration machine had malfunctioned, exposing her to the same chemicals as he had been. For her own safety, Victor could not release her from the pod. Upon trying to leave the lab, he discovered that he had developed severe heat intolerance symptoms, excessive sweating, fatigue, nausea, and vomiting upon exposure to normal temperatures. He also experienced alopecia due to the chemicals his body had been exposed to. This caused his hair to fall out. Utilizing the equipment in his lab, Victor adjusted his containment suit to regulate his body temperature. What leads some modern scientists to think Victor had discovered laser cooling was the development of his freeze gun. Others speculate that he merely used liquid nitrogen or oxygen, but we may never know for sure. Victor fled BOYLE Heating and Refrigeration Company and retreated to the warehouses along Gotham's dock front. There, he set up a base of operations and hatched a revenge plan against BOYLE. Victor's desperation had given way to manic anger. Reason had nothing to do with his plans, and Victor also wanted to retrieve Nora. Ferris Boyle took advantage of Victor's absence. He began to pass Victor's work off as his own. It was in mid-1891 that Victor enacted his plan. Wearing his containment suit and armed with his freeze gun, he broke into BOYLE Heating and Refrigeration Company. He attacked anyone who got in his way, freezing them. One such person was Boyle's enforcer, Warren White. Warren contracted alopecia, frostbite, and hypothermia from Victor's freeze gun. When he was thawed out later at the hospital, his nose and ears required amputation. Warren White's life would never be the same after that. Victor stormed through Boyle's company, wreaking havoc wherever he went in his search for Ferris. What Victor did not realize was that rumors had begun to circulate about a bat creature roaming Gotham. His assault on Boyle's company drew the attention of the Batman. Upon finding Ferris Boyle, Freeze threatened to kill him for sabotaging his work and taking advantage of his research. Victor likely would have killed him, if not for the timely arrival of the Batman. Caught by surprise, Victor attempted to fight the Bat, but his containment suit gave him limited mobility. The Bat was able to tie him up and knock him to the floor. With Victor immobilized, the police arrived to take him into custody. Unsure of how to handle his medical condition, the police turned him over to Professor Hugo Strange, warden of Arkham Asylum. Strange made the case that Victor needed psychological treatment and had a special refrigerated cell constructed for Freeze. Victor was detained there, and his containment suit was kept by the police. In light of the attack, Ferris Boyle's company fell to pieces. Evidence of Boyle's corruption mysteriously came to light, and Ferris was ruined. Nora was eventually brought out of the machine. Her debilitating affliction had ceased upon her exposure to the chemicals, and her condition was less severe than Victor's had been, but she was heartbroken upon hearing of his actions. During her husband's incarceration, Nora studied his research, learning the ins and outs of his work in an effort to help with his rehabilitation. She worked at a clothing company, and as the years passed, she spent a lot of her spare time visiting Victor. Though his research and theories are lost to time, Victor Freeze's accomplishments inspired many others to pursue cryogenics. His work showed the things that were theoretically possible. The Gotham Gazette, ever an organization to create fantastical names, dubbed Victor Mr. Freeze. No one particularly believed Victor when he stated that a man dressed as a bat had foiled his revenge scheme, but the Gazette ate it up. Mr. Freeze was the second special case inmate admitted to Arkham after Basil Carlo, aka Clayface. Arkham was gaining a reputation for housing horrors, and Gotham was becoming notorious for creating them. Freeze, a relatively quiet and cooperative inmate, became even colder and colder within. In a way, Victor Freeze had died in that lab, and Mr. Freeze had frozen to life. When the riot of 1892 happened, Freeze was one of the many inmates to escape. His resolve to find his wife would continue to be his driving motive, but he would also be fueled by a desire for revenge against the mysterious Batman. He would not be dissuaded by the public's disbelief of the Bat's existence. Mr. Freeze would hold Gotham in his icy grip, once again.